Opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Than Mitchell.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark for the most elementary of reasons, none of which were written down at the latest meetings that were held, and so we still don't know why, but...
I'm in the research department. I'm trying to find out why in the world it was called that. I don't know.
So, yeah, we don't know, but I am Mark Lawrence. We think that's probably more than a coincidence, but there's no evidence.
And I am the. So I don't know who's on.
Okay, the Mitchell is on the show today, so thank you everybody for joining us. Very much appreciated. On the other side of the glass, the single most competent engineer the world has ever known to have been created, Kevin Herr.
Brings a new height to the word adequacy.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Yes, he's broadened the definition of adequate and even, but narrowed his definition and profile. So we're glad to say that he's a healthier guy for it. There's less of him this year, but he's going to be on the radio more. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work.
Bigger mic, I guess.
This is a busy time. Folks might not know, behind the scenes, Kevin is in charge of sports around here. So he's making sure that 4 football games can go on Friday night and a couple on Saturday on the radio stations.
It is a true handful. When he walked in this morning, I was sitting here, and I looked at the expression on his face, and I realized, here it is Wednesday. He's got until Sunday night, or Saturday night, I guess, at about 10 o'clock, and he's completely tired out. He barely can move. And he's got a lot to do before the end of the week.
I should actually find my pillow one of these days very soon, before the weekend, I would hope.
Well, as I was mentioning, I was in radio for many years, as you have both been, and there are periods of time when it just doesn't seem to stop. It's constant. It's nice to have a job, though, isn't it?
Right.
I do love this time of year, though.
Yeah. It's a mixed sort of a blessing.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Isn't there a song about that?
I believe there is.
They play it at Christmas, but that's not really when it was.
Not when I play it, no.
Any morning I wake up, I kind of think that way. Whoa.
Well, and I think for folks maybe listening thinking, well, didn't you do 4 football games on Friday and 2 on Saturday last year? Don't you have some sort of a routine? And the answer is yes. But every year we upgrade. We do more stuff. The year before it was on the phone, and then the year after it was cell phone, and the year after that it was on 3G. And now this year it's going to be 4G. So really high definition radio for the football games, but all of that, brings a new level of not complication, but our engineer Harry Bingham is just doing a fantastic job all week long, making sure that all these connections are connected and switchers are switched. And
you can't beat Harry as an engineer. And one of the things that I think they complement each other, Kevin and Harry.
Actually, I heard them yesterday. They were not complimenting each other.
That means they work well together because neither of them are dead today.
It's the busy season.
But Harry is the guy who knows which wires to hook up, and Kevin is the one to know why.
Well, I think if folks ever visited a radio station like this, it isn't just hooking up wires. They build the box that the wire goes into.
Oh, yeah. And it's specialized.
Right.
It's not something you can pick up off the market.
It's a specialized piece of equipment when you pick it up and look at it. And one switch says Lewisburg home game, and then flick it to Lewisburg away, and then flick it to Susquehanna Valley Mall tie line. And then if you turn it all the way around, it says Eagle 107 Philadelphia Eagles game line. So that's a
boy. It was so much easier in the old days. We had a phone line that came from let's say Mansfield to the studio, and that was it.
Right. So that is the 4 football games, 2 on Saturday, and then another one on Sunday. Is the Eagles play on Sunday?
No, I think they have a regular. They have one more preseason game. Okay. That's tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow night's their last preseason game.
That's good.
Before you go to the sponsors, let me say, speaking of Eagles, Eagles have been very scarce this year. They appeared, we have eagles on an island right across from our house. It appeared like they didn't fletch this year, and they didn't have little eagles either.
They didn't fletch?
Yeah, that's having little eagles.
And, I was going to say, that was a movie with Chevy Chase.
You're right. I don't think it had to do with eagles,
no.
But the eagles have been very scarce. And, you kind of think, I wonder if they moved away. Generally, they use the same apartment house that they've build in the top of a tree and add to it every year. Yesterday, we saw 2 eagles flying around, coasting around, looking just absolutely gorgeous in the sunlight. So the eagles are still there.
Still have some eagles in Danville along the river, and I saw one over the Montour Preserve while I was out on the water a couple weeks ago.
According to the Game Commission, there are a lot of them up around the Montour Preserve. Apparently, there's a lot of fish in that lake.
Well, they also have, none that I've caught lately, but that's a different story. But they have a preserve. Part of that lake is actually unfishable, and you can't boat in it. And I understand there's a lot of birds that make that area their home.
Yeah, and I think the eagles know where. I don't think the eagles are restricted on where they hunt.
No, but yeah, that was the first time I'd seen one there. But
okay, well, Mark, I know we have a sponsor this morning, and I'll bet he'd like to have his name mentioned. His, her, or their named.
Their mentioned would be the Sunbury Motor Company, the main sponsor of On the Mark. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, and guess what? They are a family-owned dealership since 1915. They must be doing something right if they're almost up to 100 years. They are located at 2 big locations, 4th Street in Sunbury and routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look at them on 4th Street. That's where you can find the Hyundai, or if you're looking for a Lincoln car or truck, that Navigator truck is still for sale. Now they got a hybrid Lincoln Navigator truck, and the highway mileage is in the mid-20s, so that's not too shabby.
That's not shabby at all. I have a big truck, an 8-cylinder truck. It's a different brand from Ford, and I am getting all of downhill with a tailwind on a really nice day, 12 miles to the gallon, and when I pull my little trailer, it's 8.
Yeah,
and it sounds to me like I need a hybrid.
So a Lincoln Navigator, put that hitch on there. You can probably put that trailer in the back of the bed.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Just haul it. So that's one way to go. But they do have a lot of vehicles of every stripe and variety, including some that get over 100 miles to the gallon because they don't use any gallons. The electric.
That's all downhill. It's
Or the plug-in hybrid Ford Fusion is there. They had that set up at River Festival, 98 miles to the gallon on the highway, and of course when the electricity runs out on the battery, so if you're going on a long trip, it plugs into 110 when you do finally reach your destination, and it gets 30 on the highway and 20 some on the city. I forget the mileage, but it's a 4-cylinder car.
And boy, I'll tell you, the battery manufacturers are rushing to keep up with this kind of a switch toward using electricity, because on the highway, some of the electric cars can go 0 to 60, leaving you sitting there because they're so fast that it's just not even possible. So everybody wants them. The batteries are the only problem, and that is that you can only get 300 miles at best out of a battery, and that's probably can't run the air conditioning at the same time. Batteries are getting better and better and better, and the Ford Motor Company is part of the drive to get those batteries better. We're gonna have batteries that are amazing in the next 5 to 10 years.
All right, so to be continued, and of course, Sunbury Motors would like to do nothing more than to sell Kevin's soul. So we'll talk more about that during the 9 o'clock hour. SunburyMotors.com is their main website. LenapeSolar.com is the main website for a company with 3 important foci. Depending upon your unmet needs, if you operate or own a commercial business or work at one, and they can help the bosses save a buck. If you're the boss, you can save a buck on the lighting overhead. If you have anything in the building that's tungsten, or the old-fashioned light bulbs, or even just standard fluorescent, LEDs are the way to go, and there's a number of other options available for lighting. Lenape Solar can walk you through those. Ductless HVAC system, that's the ultra-efficient heating and cooling that's provided with a system that is a small unit on the outside, a couple of small units at various rooms on the inside, and that provides heating and cooling in a very efficient manner. And last but not least, as the name Lenape Solar might imply, they are in charge of the sun. They actually own the sun, and they are making sure that it shines on all of us and keeps us warm. So,
hey, Mark, I just looked up the stats on the Ford Focus Electric. 110 city, 99 highway is the mileage listing
99 on the highway.
for the Focus Electric, and available.
That's a plug-in electric?
Yeah.
And it has a motor also, I take it.
I'm taking from what you told me.
Right.
I have not seen it yet. But
Probably the motor works not only as a motor to move the car, but as a generator to recharge the batteries, I would bet.
Well, I can tell you that that right now the lease is under $200
Wow.
for that vehicle.
Wow.
So consider the fact of how much you're saving in the lease payment, and then how much you'll save at the pump.
Boy.
Yeah.
That could be as much as $40 a week for most people.
Stuff. Yeah, they also have a device now. Mike DeFeo was telling me this. When you hit the brakes, instead of drum brakes, squeezing, creating friction, it spins the electric motor backward.
Yes.
To generate electricity. So you recoup the electricity or gas that it took you to power to get up to speed, recoups that, charges the battery, and then recaptures that power.
Kind of like what a ship does. Like when it to do a quick stop, it throws itself in reverse.
Well,
it doesn't throw itself in reverse, but
Kevin, I think that probably Formula One racing is some of the basis for that braking. What is it called? An electric reclamation system, because Formula cars have electric boost, and they charge the electric boost when they brake.
you can also monitor the charging of your Focus Electric with a My Ford mobile app.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. All
I
right.
know when to go out and unplug the car. And I think Mike runs a long yellow extension cord over to the neighbor's house, so that is not the way to
Not
go.
the way to do it, no.
Charge it at your own house. That's a good situation.
So, what's on your mind today? I know we're going to be talking about the Farm Bureau.
All right. Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, Carl Shaffer's coming, and that'll be during the 9 o'clock hour. We invite folks in if they haven't seen Carl in a while. Use the webcam to check him out. The great camera that Kevin is operating and doing the switching. The webcam's up and running. Perfect audio. 24-hour archive right at WKOK.com. But please, if you haven't gone to the WKOK YouTube channel, check it out. That's where the videos are. That's where the video of the interviews of the folks who attended the Lewisburg Tower demolition is found. As you can look all day on YouTube and Daily Item and WKOK. Nobody was ready with their video cameras.
That was funny.
I know it is. Well, Sarah was so not angry, but she thought, well, this was silly because I waited a couple hours and then they did it on their own. But
Back many years ago, the one of the bridges in Williamsport was going to be replaced, and they were going to blow it up. And I was working in Williamsport at the time. It was supposed to blow up at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so we parked the car along the road. We waited till 4:30, and it was exciting. There were cars everywhere. There were sirens going off, and then there was this poof, plunk, and the bridge was in the water. And I'll bet the tower fell
is that
like
the
that.
Arch
too.
Street Bridge? Or
No,
Maynard
it was
Street?
Maynard Street Bridge, yeah.
Okay, so that would have been a couple of years
And
ago.
I was thinking about that when the tower went down. Is everybody said, I wonder when it's going to bang. Oh, it just did.
Well, I was there. In fact, I posted a YouTube of the Celotex towers coming down, not towers, but smokestacks. So we were there, and they invited dignitaries to watch, and plus they invited some reporters. And I said, okay, it's going to be in half an hour. It's going to be in 20 minutes. They made sure everybody who wanted to have video rolling was ready, and so that everybody caught that.
Yeah, and really it's too bad about the tower at Pennsylvania House Furniture, because that was such an institution. It put so many people to work in the Lewisburg and surrounding areas for I don't know how many years, but something close to 1 million. And some of it, they hadn't even grown trees by the time they started making furniture up there. And so there's such a history. And I was happy to find out that Bucknell students are reclaiming some pieces of the tower to make a piece of artwork to commemorate that time up there.
All right. You are listening to On the Mark. We've set the scene. Sunbury Motor and Lenape Solar are our main sponsors. The toll-free line is open right now. It's the topic of your selection, 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. When Carl Shaffer comes in, we're going to talk about a couple issues that relate to farmers. President of Pennsylvania Farm Bureau and a Columbia County farmer. Today he's wearing the necktie, but yesterday he was wearing muddy shoes, and tomorrow he'll be back out
Just
there.
mud? He ain't a farmer then.
Well, yeah, he had everything on those shoes. So we'll just leave it at that. He leaves those in the trucks. He doesn't bring those in the Oh, the soiled boots.
I have to tell you, being a farm kid, that smell just is nostalgic as can be. Yeah, the barn smell.
I went up to a farm last week to do one of the sunrise segments, and the back of my truck still smells because I put the boots in the back. And of course, I wanted a tour of everything, and not the manure pit, but the holding pen where the cows wait. And of course, that's
it is. It is not. It's not easy to stay clean on a farm. That's
wonderful.
Sure.
Yeah, there's this big manure pit. There's a grate over it. And I said, how many cell phones are down in that pit? And she said, just one. And that's the one that she dropped in there. I mean, it's in there for good. And it will never come out. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, but we have open phones right now. 1-800-795-9565, the telephone number. Lenape Solar email in basket is always open. You simply email onthemark@WKOK.com, and our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Disruptive may be just another overused buzzword, but disruptions in business like network downtime, data loss, social media abuse, and limited bandwidth are downright disruptive. For businesses large or small, Barracuda Networks offers powerful, affordable, yet easy to implement content security, application delivery, and data protection solutions, all designed to prevent disruptions and simplify IT. For an online demo or to try any of our security or storage solutions risk-free for 30 days, visit barracuda.com/disruptive.
I had crunchy Belvita breakfast biscuits this morning. Then what did I do? Made my bed, fed my fish, got dressed, cleaned the dish, remembered to floss, but still didn't do it. Ran a lap on the track, dropped my phone, didn't crack, got in before the boss, made sure that he knew it. Just getting in, huh?
Crunchy Belvita breakfast biscuits are made with delicious ingredients and carefully baked to release steady energy all morning long. Share your morning win. Belvita.
Morning win.
Hearing this in your future? Head to the Outdoor Bridal Show Sunday, September 7th on the Watson Inn premises. See vendors for every need. Bridal registration begins at 1, vendor door prize giveaways are at 3, and the grand prize is $1,000 cash. Sponsored by the Lewisburg Hotel, Watson Inn, and Mifflinburg Hotel. Thanks to partnering sponsors, Any Event Party Rental and Sales Williamsport, Tron Wedding and Party Rentals Kingston, and Wolf Sanitation Sunbury. Call the Watson Inn at 538-1832 or the Lewisburg Hotel at 523-7800.
Penn State gets ready to open the season with Central Florida in Dublin. Coming up today, we'll talk with Jack Ham and the voice of UCF football, Mark Daniels. 3 to 5 today, WKOK.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence. I'm very glad that all of you are with us. We had a fascinating conversation on Monday about media bias.
Yeah, that was very interesting. You know that I disagree oftentimes with Ben. We disagree on a lot of stuff. I got confused with Ben's what he was talking about with the media. Mm-hmm. See, I think of the media as being the commercial news outlets. The media is also entertainment. The media is your TV set and what comes in there. Social media comes in generally on your cell phones and on your computer. Social media, I don't think, is a good source of news. It's a great source of gossip. And if San Francisco fell into the Bay, and the first thing you read on Twitter was San Francisco fell into San Francisco Bay and disappeared, that's not news. That has to be checked. When ABC comes out and said, we had people in San Francisco and it's gone, then you start thinking of it as news. Ben was going back and forth between social media and the news media, and it had me confused.
All right, Roberta, we're talking about media bias. You are on the mark. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, Roberta.
Good morning. Good morning, Than. How are you, hon?
I'm wonderful.
Good. The reason I'm calling, it was on the news. You guys are talking about the news, but anyhow, I'm talking about it too. Governor Corbett wants to shut down this one, or get rid of this one National Guard outfit. It's up the line somewhere. It was on 16 News last night. And I would like to know what his reasoning is for. That is stupid. We need the National Guard. Those men, I don't know if there's women in there or not, but they're well trained. And you never know when you might need the National Guard in that area. They wouldn't have one.
Are you sure he doesn't want to keep the National Guard?
No,
unit?
this one unit he wants to get rid of.
Okay.
They closed it down.
Well, they're very expensive. I mean, that's the key is that, it's millions of dollars to keep a particular unit open. That's why you saw Lewisburg changed, and Sunbury, has evolved considerably from what it was, although there are still some activities that take place there because of the huge expense. Do you really need a separate roof at 3 different locations, or can one big roof that you already own be more efficient?
Well, I don't know if this one is owned, if they own this one or not, but at the same time, they are ready, if any disaster or whatever would, they go, like Afghanistan, and it's the way the world is today, there's trouble all over, and I don't think, we can do without, a whole National Guard unit,
Well, I bet they don't cut back on the numbers, Roberta, as Mark just said. They probably move it into one roof. And, boy, through the disasters, I think the National Guard has been right on top of it. In 1972, with the Agnes flood, the National Guard kept radio stations on the air with generators. They saved people's lives. They did all kinds of wonderful things, and except I would have to say they probably are pretty expensive to keep if they have separate facilities everywhere.
Yeah, but at the same time, we don't want to get rid of them. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, I don't think...
There's a lot of other government money they waste. And I figure our defense of our country is not a waste of money.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roberta.
All right, here's...
Thank you. Have a good day.
And you too.
Hold on, Roberta.
Hold on.
This is from Philly.com. And their Newswork section, it says, oops, she did leave. But
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had something.
Governor Tom Corbett will address the Pennsylvania National Guard Association Saturday in Harrisburg, where he's expected to voice his opposition to the closure of several National Guard bases in Pennsylvania. Corbett served in the Guard for 12 years and has relied on troops in recent years to respond to natural disasters. That's one paragraph of a story that starts out that the U.S. Army is proposing shutting down a National Guard brigade headquarters in Scranton, with units based in eastern and northeastern Pennsylvania by late 2016. And then it goes on, blah, 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 1,000 details and where they are and who works there and what they do. And then Governor Corbett opposes this and has voiced opposition so far, and will reiterate that apparently Saturday in Oh, no, this is from April. Okay, so this unit, or this comment, not new. But Corbett opposed to that, at least then. So I doubt that he's changed his stripes on that. He's tries to keep jobs in Pennsylvania. But, of course, you got to have... trying to right-size the U.S. military is what this is all about. We see it, we have 150 bases that various countries overseas. Cannot one of them be consolidated back into the U.S.? Do we need Letterkenny plus... the depots that are in the Philadelphia area? Now this name escapes me. There's a whole town built around it, but for some reason it's not coming to me. But in any event, okay, so are we right-sizing the government?
Well, as you know, being a Quaker kid, I'm leery of the military all the way around, but I certainly believe that we have to find a way to, let's say, nobody's going to close a military base in Pennsylvania because a senator and a representative from that area is going to campaign to keep it open. But we just think of the number of places that we're making things we don't need. I think I'm right in saying there's a field of tanks in Texas. They made the tanks.
New tanks.
New tanks. They took them down there and parked them, and they're rusting away because we don't need them. I think we have maybe the only aircraft carriers in the world, or there's one other one, and we have more than we would ever need, but we keep building them, and it's because it puts jobs in districts. I think we ought to pay more attention to keeping the peace than keeping the wars going, and I think maybe if our senators and representatives would care more about peace and less about military acquisition and product, we'd be a better world.
But we're the world's policemen. We have to keep that up. People depend on us to protect them.
Well, if we really believe that, I think that perhaps that we're going to get into big trouble, because the world is too big for one single country to police. The world policeman should be a world organization. Oh yeah, the UN, which can be very ineffective, but it can also be very effective. And I think we should worry about strengthening those ties with other countries so that we can react together as, instead of a police force, as a neighborhood organization to try to keep people in line. I realize that's pie in the sky, but I'll eat that pie if we come to it.
Right, but I think on the other hand, the one thing the U.S. can do is, since the U.S. is run by a decider, as George W. Bush so eloquently stated, and now President Obama is the decider, it is much faster when the world needs a response to have the U.S. take action rather than ask the leaders of the UN to slowly take action. You know, the agility of the U.S.
In other words, Rambo is more effective because he runs through the door guns blazing than having some sort of a dialogue beforehand. Right. I hope that's not true.
If there's a bad guy, would you rather have a Rambo or a committee of politicians run through the door?
I'm a committee of politicians guy, yeah. At least try.
Hey, you guys, hold on. We're going to get a printout here in a moment that's going to be your orders to leave this house immediately. So, all right. The webcam is up and running.
Like Rambo.
Yeah. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. SunburyMotors.com. This is WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News. I'm Dave Barrett. There may be dozens of Americans in the fight siding with ISIS in Syria. One man from the Midwest had joined up, and now he's been killed in a clash over there.
Douglas MacArthur McCain was known to the FBI and on a terror watch list, so his State Department-issued U.S. passport would have raised some flags if he had tried to re-enter the U.S. Right now, U.S. intelligence is working with other foreign governments to try to pin down the location of some of these fighters and prevent them from bringing any of the fight back home.
That's correspondent Margaret Brennan. Syria facing war crimes allegations. With that, CBS's Vicki Barker, who joins us live.
There may be some combatants in the Syrian crisis that aren't committing war crimes, but UN investigators say the two main adversaries, the regime and ISIS, are, and on a horrifying scale. Documents and witness statements suggest the Syrian government has dropped deadly barrel bombs on civilians at least 8 times this year, and ISIS has been carrying out public executions, amputations, and whippings, and is forcing young boys to join its training camps. Dave?
Held in Syria for nearly 4 years, journalist Peter Theo Curtis, he's now free, back in Boston, where WBZ TV's David Robichaud says Curtis issued a statement.
The 45-year-old said, "I have been so touched and moved beyond all words by the people who have come up to me today, strangers on the airplane, the flight attendants, and most of all, my family, to say welcome home." He went on to say, "I am also deeply indebted to the U.S. officials who have worked on my case."
More than 120,000 customers began their day in the dark in the Detroit area. Power outages caused by thunderstorms with 60-mile-an-hour winds. Meteorologist Craig Allen.
This weather system will channel moisture from the center of the nation and off from the southwest and bring additional showers and thunderstorms over the next few days.
Parts of southern Michigan could get up to 4 inches of new rain. Trying to log on?
Time Warner Cable Internet is built for speed.
But not today. Before dawn, some of Time Warner Cable's broadband service went out. Now, most of it is back up to speed. A brutal crime discovered early today in Philadelphia, where 2 bodies, stabbed and bound, were found in the Schuylkill River.
They both appeared to be tied to some sort of device that was used to anchor them down.
Police say a third man was stabbed but managed to free himself and swim back to shore. He is now in the hospital. He told cops he'd been kidnapped, robbed, and tossed into a van with those 2 other victims. IMF chief Christine Lagarde doesn't think much of the investigation, but she admits officials are looking at her dealings when she was finance minister in France. It's all part of a larger corruption probe. On Wall Street this Wednesday, S&P futures are down less than a point, Dow futures are +3, and the NASDAQ futures are down a fraction. This is CBS News.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now. 1-800-725-4429. 1-800-725-4429. That's 1-800-725-4429. 1-800-725-4429.
When a school bus stops, you should too, but that's not always the case.
Surveys of school bus drivers indicate that on a typical day, 76,000 cars and trucks illegally pass school buses that are stopped. And according to bus drivers, 2/3 of the other drivers are speeding. So a company that makes detectors and cameras to catch speeders and red light runners is now selling
school zone speed cameras and school bus stop arm cameras.
On that arm that sticks out from the side of the bus when it's stopped, Charles Torito of American Traffic Solutions explains.
Our high-tech version has a camera, and that camera captures an image of a license plate of a driver who passes that stop arm.
Police send out a ticket, and the fines pay for the system. Dan Raviv, CBS News.
It's been around for a half-century.
It's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
The movie Mary Poppins debuted 50 years ago today in Hollywood.
Say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious.
I'm Dave Barrett, CBS News.
They say every healthy relationship should have a balance of predictability and spontaneity. In fact, it is that assurance of security that makes the spontaneous possible. Your relationship with your car should be a little like that too. With our new industry-leading unlimited mileage warranty, your certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz instills a sense of confidence. You drive away knowing that you can keep driving for up to 3 years and never have to worry about the miles. Add to that our new complimentary prepaid maintenance on select models, and your certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz becomes the ultimate carefree escape vehicle. Only during the Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned Sales event, going on now through September 2nd, can you also take advantage of a 2-month payment credit on many models, plus 3 months of Sirius XM satellite radio. So hurry in today. It might just be the most predictable, spur-of-the-moment decision you've ever made.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Than Mitchell.
Greetings and welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, the way above average, strikingly handsome.
Whoa, that's over the top. Above average, yeah, but strikingly handsome. I worry about that.
My lovely bride insisted that I do an honest introduction one of these days. So
well, you haven't done it yet, then.
Oh, yes, that is okay. But I am Mark Lawrence, hosting the show today. On the other side of the glass, the man that makes it happen, that makes the sounds fade when they're supposed to go down and makes them start when they're supposed to start, and makes the video camera perfectly clear, and also makes everything else run around here is Kevin Herr, greatest engineer the world has ever known. So he's on the other side side of the glass. Across the table from me, politically, socially, and figuratively, is Than Mitchell.
And I just was given by a good neighbor of mine when I told him I lost a particular album in the flood 3 years ago, a CD set of Old and in the Way. So I guess that's how you could introduce me. I'm Old and in the Way.
Old and in the Way. This is a band called.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Jerry Garcia, and I'd leave half of them out, but it was
Tom
just
Petty?
No, Tom Petty was not in it.
Okay.
I thought he was, but he's not. I'll bet Kevin could look it up. Old and in the Way was an album some years ago, and it is marvelous.
All right, super. Yeah, beautiful musician.
But that's me, Old and in the Way.
All right, so Than Mitchell's across from me, and certainly, yes, Old and in the Way certainly describes him on many occasions. Lenape Solar email in basket open. You simply email on the mark at WKOK.com.
You weren't supposed to agree.
In most cases, well, I'm just talking about when we're doing vacuuming around here.
Oh, okay. Keep
Don't
my
worry
feet
about
up.
that.
I
He's
got
Old and in the Way. LenapeSolar.com, their main website. They can help hook you up to the sun and make sure that you're able to utilize the sun to generate electricity, as many farmers do, or to generate heat, as anyone can, and that is an opportunity that you now enjoy, and we invite you to explore that. LenapeSolar.com. Sunbury Motors, our main sponsor. Whether you are looking for a great big tractor trailer or a tiny little smart car that gets 1,000,000 miles to the gallon, they can help you out. Sunbury Motors has vehicles of every type. They sell new Ford cars and trucks, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln cars and trucks, a premier service provider for everybody. And their vehicles have soul, but they're missing one of their souls right now, and that's because Kevin is driving around, although I think he has permission. How's that car running, Kevin?
They're missing the Kia Red Zone Edition soul right now, the white vehicle with the red trim. And again, like we talked about last week, it has these adjustable steering. So if you like a little more sporty, tighter steering wheel, you can adjust it to sport. If you like a more comfortable steering wheel, you have the comfort version. And, of course, has all the amenities, like including automatic climate settings. In other words, you set it for the temperature you want, you hit auto, and it will keep it at that setting.
Did you hit rain last year or last week?
Not that kind
of.
Okay. No, just the temperature.
Inside.
Just the temperature inside.
Okay.
And if it detects the need for the defrosters, it will put the defrosters on automatically.
And one of the souls that I like so much when it's coming at me on the road are the black and white ones. They remind me so much of the helmets that people have on in Star Wars. Some of those troopers coming up the road just looks like one of those helmets. I like the soul a lot.
5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. 5 years, you don't have to worry about anything. Great residual value, which means you'll have more trade-in value on the next soul, or you'll have lower lease payments.
All right. And if there's nothing Sunbury Motors would like to do is to sell Kevin's soul as soon as he's done with it. So
I think Kevin's soul left a long.
Well, with that, we are so glad to say that it's been a couple years since we had a chance to talk to him around here. Carl Shaffer is back. He is a farmer in Mifflin Township, Columbia County. Rose to the ranks of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau and is now as president of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. Still a grain and crop farmer. Also, that places him in the very honorable position of being on the Penn State Board of Trustees. So he's been sort of monitoring all the goings-on at the university for the past couple of years and is glad to say normalcy and excellence has returned in almost every way. We welcome Carl Shaffer back here. Good morning, sir.
Mark, it's great to be back.
Oh, I really do appreciate you coming in. There's so much that we can talk about, but we've heard the Farm Bureau talking lately about a number of really important issues, and I'm not surprised, but I saw the Farm Bureau taking a real strong stand on the pension crisis. It's only $60 billion, so eventually that's going to add up to something. Agriculture has a deep interest in this. Why is that?
Let me start off first by saying our position is not, and I repeat, is not to touch any of the existing liability that's owed to the employees in the state of Pennsylvania. We don't want to see them lose any of their vested pension that they have. But moving forward, it's an issue that we're going to have to deal with. One of the reasons agriculture is so involved and concerned about this, the only way school districts have of recouping that escalating cost is through property taxes. And as farmers own most of the land in the state of Pennsylvania, it's going to impact agriculture in a huge way. That's our very big concern with this burdensome liability.
I have a feeling that people don't think about the fact that the people who own big tracts of land get big tax bills.
Absolutely. And one other part of our society, which is very concerning, is our senior citizens who are on a fixed income. Their property taxes will be impacted too, where a lot of times they don't have the ability to generate more income to offset that increased property tax.
What I've heard many different places and people talk about this crisis, and we're always guaranteed they're not going to bother anybody who already has a contract. What is the answer? You've got the problem. What is the answer in your estimation?
I think we have to look at forward hires, new employees, different pension plans for the new people that we hired, ways of bringing this back into check. It's the constant kicking the can down the road, so to speak, is not going to be the answer. And I can liken this to the city of Detroit, who they went through the same thing until it forced the city into bankruptcy. And what happened to the employees there who already had a vested pension plan, their pensions are now at risk. So I would like to see us do something before we get to that point, so that the people that do have vested pensions, their pensions are going to be secure, they're going to get their money, and also moving forward that people, new hirees, know coming in, that they're going to be under a different pension plan.
Right, Governor Corbett and some other leaders are advocating for a solution in Harrisburg. Now, that's kind of mired in the political rancor that's going on in Harrisburg. Does the Farm Bureau take a position on this? One of them is a sort of a hybrid pension, 401k styles kind of blended in there?
Yeah, and we're open to looking at anything that's going to resolve the problems, but we think that some sort of hybrid pension plan is going to have to be the answer. You can't, $50-60 billion, our whole 1 year state budget is $29 billion. We're talking 2 years of the total state budget of the state of Pennsylvania to bring this back into control.
We'll just have to do absolutely positively nothing at all for 2 years. Put all that money aside for that, and then we can resume normal business here in Pennsylvania. What does the Farm Bureau's advocacy entail? I saw a PCN section where you were testifying in front of a committee or something in Harrisburg, and so we know that telling the legislators is one thing. What else have you been doing?
We try to keep our members. We have 60,000 members, and we try to keep our members very well informed of what the situation is. Because one person without all the information is kind of at a loss. So we try to keep our members informed. We encourage our members to talk to their legislators to explain what the ramifications of this are.
Okay, so you're telling your members and tell me about your legislative activity that the Farm Bureau is doing.
We have our people that are activists for agriculture talking to our legislators every day. We have people in the state offices and in the federal offices as well, but particularly on the pension reform in the state offices, discussing what the problems is. What seems to work best is though when a regular member, when a farmer goes to a legislator and says, this is how this is going to impact my life, that seems to resonate with the legislators the best.
What is the opposition? I know there is opposition. Can you enumerate what the opposition to a 401k, whatever it might be, that you advocate instead of property taxes?
We're hearing, like I said, a lot of the opposition is, we don't want you to touch our retirement. Well, that is what I said right up front. We are not advocating to touch anybody's retirement. Anything they have paid in, anything they have vested, we want to make sure they get their full retirement they have been promised. We're looking forward at new hires, alternative plans that will help salvage the whole system.
Are there or is there opposition to alternative plans that have nothing to do with the people who are under contract? Is there opposition to the change even for new hires?
We are hearing back push from the unions, mainly the teachers union, things like that, who want to keep the status quo, but they do not have an alternative way of paying for that. That's where the kick is.
Okay. All right. And is there anybody actively arguing against this? You mentioned teachers are opposed to it, or the teachers union may be opposed to it, but who else is saying, this is not an ideal system, either let's keep the status quo or something other than these hybrid plans?
Well, and it's not just teachers. Think of all the state workers that are involved with this as well.
Policemen.
It could be policemen. It could be the liquor store employees. They're a big party in this.
And of course they were promised these great benefits because the wages at the time were a little questionable. So they said, well, we don't give you great wages, but we'll give you great benefits. And now we have to pay for them. And are we going to start raising the salaries of people in Pennsylvania so that the jobs are appropriate, the pay is appropriate to what they're going to lose by not having the benefits?
That's going to be up to our leaders. Like I said, when you hire a new employee, they have to look at what their pay is, what their benefits are, as compared to another job. So it's going to be a competitive hiring system, as it should be. So it's going to be up to the different entities in the state to either adjust salaries or whatever it's going to take to be competitive in the workforce.
Do we know of some farms that have gone bankrupt, that this bankruptcy have already occurred, and they can sort of directly or indirectly say, property taxes just got too high?
We're seeing it start right now. I know some farmers in the city of Erie, Pennsylvania, have raised property taxes. They've over doubled them. And I know it's putting a strain on some of the farmers up in the northwestern part of the state. We're trying to address the problem before that does happen. That's the secret.
Okay, and do farmers get any sort of a break on their taxes? I know agricultural zoned land is, certainly has some protections. Are there any privileges that go on agricultural land?
On agricultural land, with the property tax, if you're in a program called Clean and Green, the property tax is based on the agricultural value of the land. Now, having said that, if you sell that land or is developed, you pay 7 years rollback on the difference. So in other words, what you're paying as compared to what the development value of the land is, you pay the difference for 7 prior years plus 6% interest. So there is a penalty if the land is ever developed or sold for development.
Okay, so that's involved. But on actual property tax itself, anything that lowers it, of course, it's assessed at a lower rate, so maybe that helps. And if, of course, it had been assessed at residential or something, it would be at a higher rate, so that helps. But the agriculture assessment, any other incentives or helps that are already helping farmers?
There really isn't much out there that's going to prevent it. There's been a sort of cap on how much the schools can raise without a vote every year, but I think once we're seeing it already, where schools are already starting saying, well, we have to cut back sports, we have to cut back this, cut back that, but they are looking at their only avenue to generate more income is through property taxes.
All right, we're talking about farmers who are already on a razor-thin margin. We're going to continue this conversation. We're honored to have Carl Shaffer back in the studio, president of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. This is probably your second or third visit?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you coming by. Now, on some days, he can stop here on his way to work when he heads down to Harrisburg for the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau office, because he lives in Columbia County and has a crop farm there. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll keep talking about this. We can go on to some other topics. that relates to the EPA and saving the bay, always a topic that comes up when agriculture's at the microphone. So Carl Shaffer is here. Sunbury Motor Company is our main sponsor. Lenape Solar, the email in-basket sponsor. Toll-free line is open if you have a question for Carl. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. And we will be right back.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know we use exclusive manufacturing partners? Our solar modules are made with American components in an American factory by an American company in Milwaukee. Our lighting fixtures are made less than 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Even our fluorescent lamps are made here in the U.S., as are our solar racking systems. We're dedicated not just to quality, but our local economy. Find out more by calling 286-1496, online at lenapesolar.com, or drop by our showroom at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury, and see these products in person.
Labor Day celebrations need that extra certain something that goes along with all the goodies you plan to serve, and that happens to be terrific vintages from Shade Mountain Winery. Before your bash begins, head over to the winery for some cool duck or some of their other fine wines. They have several convenient locations for you to visit along Route 104 between Penns Creek and Middleburg, in Millheim, and also now in the old train station in Riverside. Online at ShadeMountainWinery.com. They say life is short. Drink wine.
Ready to gear up and go? That's the sound of a Kubota RTV utility vehicle. Maybe it's orange, maybe it's camouflage, maybe it has 2 seats, or maybe it has 4. There might even be a factory-installed cab with heat and air. With so many RTVs, find the right one for you and start saving with low-rate long-term financing available now. Kubota RTVs, built for the best things in life. Gear up and go at Kubota.com to find a dealer near you.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
It's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I was trying to think what other word rhymes with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious besides atrocious. I just thought of one. That's the first time I've thought of one.
What a precocious question to ask. Okay. Than Mitchell is here. He also celebrating wearing a fluffy hat today, the 50th anniversary of the release of the Mary Poppins movie.
I did. That's one movie I did see. Almost any other movie I have never seen.
Probably in the silent film era, right?
Of course. The music was great.
All right. So Than Mitchell's with us. Kevin Hers, the engineer. I'm Mark Lawrence. Carl Shaffer, president of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, is here. EPA's interested. They say they're interested in clarifying existing laws, the Clean Water Act, but Waters of the U.S. is the name of their initiative, and farmers say it would certainly have a negative effect. Overregulation would have a negative effect on farmers. So tell us about the Farm Bureau's view of this topic.
Well, this is another trying to do an end run on the Clean Water Act. And let me explain. The Clean Water Act was put in place, which basically says that the federal government has control over navigable waters. the rest of the waters, the states should have the right to control their own waters. What this says is any waters, the EPA would have the authority to control and run.
Because they all contribute to navigable waters.
Correct. And we're disagreeing with this strongly because it would I'm not only saying streams and tributaries, but now any place, like the other night, we had 4.1 inches of rain on my farm, which was the most in I don't know how many years in one event. So wherever water might have ran down through a field, that would be considered waters of the United States. And the EPA could come in and say, okay, if you're going to spray over that, now you need an NPDES permit. If you're going to plow through that, you're going to need an NPDES permit. So, and getting an NPDES permit is very costly to do in the first place. If you don't get one and don't think you need one, but EPA deems you do, the fine is $37,000 per day for not having one. Plus, it opens you up to civil suits by activists who could come along and say, oh, we saw water in your field. We think you need an NPDES permit, therefore we're filing a civil suit against you. This is going to be horrendous for everyone, not only farmers, but builders, developers, everyone that would be involved in this.
And what they're saying, what the EPA is saying, that really this is just a clarification of existing rules that all waterways were always thought to have contributed to navigable, or for example, you know, the stormwater runoff that you were talking about that forms in your fields or between the furrows contributes to the creek that is at the end of your field and then to the Susquehanna River up in Columbia County. So they're saying that this law was always intended to cover that. It just wasn't enforced.
And Congress did not intend this law to cover that. This is the other thing. This is not being done through Congress. This is not being done through our legislative leaders that we elect. This is being done by this administration just determining this is it. There are no public hearings. There is a comment period, and that's it. So they're bullying their way through this without having the opportunity for Congress to get involved.
Let's jump ahead a little bit, and then we'll kind of get back to this. Where's the hope for farming? You're talking about your taxes doubling and redoubling in the years ahead to pay for retirees' pensions. You're talking about regulation making it much different and more difficult to stay in full compliance, which we assume is your overall interest, to stay in compliance with these kind of rules. Where's the hope here? You're certainly not making more money on your grain these days and your corn and so on.
One thing I'd like your public to realize, by the year 2050, according to the population increase in this world, we're going to have to double food production. We're going to have to double food production, and we're going to have to do it on less ground than we're doing it today, because the footprint is shrinking all the time. We either grow the food in this country or some other country that's not under regulations will grow the food and import it in this country.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I want to get back to this Chesapeake Bay thing, because I see a real problem here between farmers in Pennsylvania who are trying to make a living and farmers on the Chesapeake. They're called watermen, who catch crabs and fish and all that sort of thing. They're farming down there. And if we ruin their farms, we're hurting them. If they ruin our farms by overregulation, they're hurting the farmers up here. That's a difficult tightrope to walk, is it not?
Well, let me clarify one thing. This Chesapeake Bay business happened over 200 years. It took 200 years for the bay to get to where it is today. We agree with EPA. We want to clean up the waters of the United States. Farmers are very environmentally sensitive to that.
Have to be.
And as technology has developed, we've adapted to best management practices that really have improved the bay a lot. The only difference we really have with EPA is the timeline it's taking to get there. They think it can happen in 5 years. Well, it took 200 years for it to get to where it is, and it's going to take longer to get it corrected. We are adapting best management practices as they're being developed by our universities all the time. And here's another ironic thing. Some of the best management practices that I've implemented voluntarily on my own, such as sod waterways, diversions, terraces, that slow down the amount of water being released at one time. Those things would all be now waters of the United States, and I would fall under the chance that I might have to get an NPDES permit because I have environmentally done the right thing. This is why this is such a tragic story and needs to be corrected. But you can look, I lived along the Susquehanna River all my life. I can remember walking down there as a kid. The rocks along the edge of the banks where it's orange, fluorescent orange. There was stuff floating that I didn't want to identify. There was no fish. Today it's one of the best smallmouth bass fisheries in the world. So we have, in my lifetime, started this improvement, greatly enhanced it, and we will continue to do this. Like I said, where we disagree is on the timeline it's going to take to get there.
Right, so the EPA rules, if they were imposed over a couple hundred years, then that might be doable if you had a chance to get in. Who's the real culprit in this whole discussion? When we're layering on the EPA with the Bay, we're sort of having that same conversation as it relates to anything that comes off a farm, whether it's runoff or something that even soaks through the ground. Who's the real culprit? I have to think, I recently visited a farm, and the farmer said, I have to put an extra spritz of nitrogen here in the spring because otherwise the corn won't grow into these big ears that everybody wants. Nobody wants my little heirloom ears that are small. Everybody wants these great big ones. So really, is it the consumer who's sort of the culprit here that says, okay, we need extra additives. We don't want any worms at all whatsoever, period. It turns our stomach if we find a worm in the corn, so we need more pesticides. Is the consumer partially in this discussion?
The consumer is partially in this discussion because of misinformation. That is it. I don't blame the consumer. They hear things. EPA put out a model for the Chesapeake Bay. And under that model, in Pennsylvania, they have no farm practicing no-till farming. No-till farming has been, in the last 15 years, the technology has been there to allow us to no-till farm, which has really reduced runoff dramatically. Now, if they say we aren't doing that, well, what we're doing, it's been proven that almost 85 to 90% of the farms in Pennsylvania are no-tilling. So how can they use flawed models like this to determine what the load is on the Chesapeake Bay? This is what we really are against.
What are your chances of coming up with some kind of logical solution as we look at how government, in this particular instance, as we go through some really rough political times, what are the chances of anything happening with this government the way it's happening, the way it's being run?
In conjunction with American Farm Bureau, Pennsylvania Farm Bureau has joined American Farm Bureau, and we have filed a lawsuit against the EPA because of just what I said. Their model is flawed, their numbers are flawed, they aren't really reacting to on-the-ground stuff that's going on.
Thank you. Do we have a caller there, Kevin? Is that a caller? Yes, we have a caller on the line. Good morning. Caller, you are on the line.
Hi. I just caught one part of what your guest speaker had said about the timeline, disagreeing with the timeline. And it occurred to me that if my doctor said to me, well, you're going to have a heart attack if you don't change your eating habits because your arteries are getting clogged. And I said, well, you know what, Doc? It took 70 years for me to get this way, so it's going to take me another 70 years to change my eating habits. That wouldn't really make sense. So I'm not sure I understand or agree with this idea that the timeline is too quick. If there's an emergency, we have to do something and we have to do it now. So I'm wondering what kind of timeline do you think would be reasonable to impose to make these changes in order to improve what could potentially be a disastrous situation?
I would say that another 10 to 20 years of continuing the practices that we're doing, because we've seen this curve improve, and it's improving steadily. That it's been proven by the testing of the water, everything else. The bay is continually getting cleaner. It's getting better. Like I said, to get to the numbers they want, EPA has basically told us in Pennsylvania you're going to have to idle 20% of the farmland to accomplish this in the timeline we want you to. Now, idling 20% of the farmland in Pennsylvania, which is agriculture is the number one industry, 1 in 7 jobs are tied to it. I vehemently disagree with idling 20% of the farmland.
Let me say, the caller probably heard Mark say it's going to be 70 years or 200 years to get it back into shape.
No.
You didn't correct him, and I think your 10 to 20 is a little more accurate.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because
it's not going to take
if it's 200 years,
no.
Obviously the caller is absolutely correct.
All right, Reverend Shade, more words for Carl?
Well, I appreciate his giving us this perspective, and I hear that 10 to 20 years he thinks is a more reasonable timeline. I'm not sure that, given some of the things we've heard about the intersexing of the fish and the melanomas on the smallmouth bass, that yes, things are better than they were, but I don't think that we should be lulled into thinking that we have time on our side here. And if idling the farmland is not the answer, then we need to find other things. But I think that we need to address this with definitely more urgency, and not use the argument that it's too soon, because that's just going to make the problem worse down the line.
All right, thank you, Dr. Shade. Very much appreciate it. That's the Reverend Dr. Leah Shade. She's an occasional contributor here and a guest and an acquaintance and friend and a bit of a mentor too for me. But
hey, Mark, let me tell you one other thing that's
respond.
happening: the developing of the technology, as I call it. One of the things that's happening now is the development of the technology of GPS in our equipment that will allow the different rates of fertilizer to be applied. In other words, if a soil type isn't capable of producing X amount of bushels, the amount of fertilizer can be reduced automatically by GPS. All this kind of technology is going to reduce the amount of fertilizer, and same with animal waste. It's going to be able to adjust that and help us maintain it better. These are the types of things that I'm talking about. As new technology is developed, we're adapting that and utilizing that, and that will be for a big improvement to the bay.
And do we have a problem with feeding animals so many antibiotics? Is that a problem that comes from the animal veterinarians and so forth, the farmers, or is it absolutely necessary, and does that have to do with the intersexing of the fish?
No, that the fish problem has been proven that has nothing to do with any kind of animal waste or anything like that. That was a different situation that they did a study and come up with that. I would tell you this, that livestock farmers, antibiotics are very expensive. They are not going to willy-nilly give animals antibiotics whether they need them or not. They use them to treat animals just like humans are being treated when necessary. So they're very sensitive to that. Plus, think about it, like I said, why would you want to spend the money on antibiotics when they're not needed?
How about growth hormones and that sort of thing that are, steroids and so forth? They give so the chickens grow up in 3 days rather than 3 months.
I'm not aware of any chickens on steroids, to be honest with
growth hormones would be my
yeah, they don't use them.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming in. Very much appreciated. An additional comment. You got an open mic, maybe what you would like everyone out in our audience to do?
get as much information, factual information, from like universities where scientific data is available. There's so much misconception. There's so much misinformation being thrown at you that you really need to help educate yourself. That's one of our main missions, is to try to hope that the consumer is educated on sound science of what's going on out there.
Thank you so much for coming in, Carl.
Mark, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Very much appreciate it. Carl Shaffer, President of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. We are going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have open phones. You're listening to On the Mark on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Mobile Deposit is here at the Northumberland National Bank. Use your Nori Bank mobile app on your smartphone or iPad to log in. Take a photo of your check and enter the deposit amount. It's a convenient alternative to visiting your local branch to deposit 1 or 2 checks. Plus, there are no lines, no paperwork, and no worries. With Mobile Deposit from the Northumberland National Bank, banking just got easier. Download the Northumberland National Bank's app now for your convenience. Try it and see how easy it is to have 24/7 account access at your fingertips.
We're used to dealing with problems, standing by you through it all. But whenever it comes to service, you'll find we're always well versed. At Northumberland National Bank, the customer always comes first.
The Northumberland National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
At Northumberland National Bank, the customer always comes first.
Disruptive may be just another overused buzzword, but disruptions in business like network downtime, data loss, social media abuse, and limited bandwidth are downright disruptive. For businesses large or small, Barracuda Networks offers powerful, affordable, yet easy to implement content security, application delivery, and data protection solutions, all designed to prevent disruptions and simplify IT. For an online demo or to try any of our security or storage solutions risk-free for 30 days, visit barracuda.com/disruptive.
I had crunchy Belvita breakfast biscuits this morning. Then what did I do? Made my bed, fed my fish, got dressed, cleaned the dish, remembered to floss, but still didn't do it. Ran a lap on the track, dropped my phone, didn't crack, got in before the boss, made sure that he knew it. Just getting in, huh?
Crunchy Belvita breakfast biscuits are made with delicious ingredients and carefully baked to release steady energy all morning long. Share your morning win. Belvita.
Morning win.
With winter weather just around the corner, contact a qualified service technician to ensure that your propane system is operating safely. Make sure that everyone in your family knows what propane smells like and what to do in the event of a gas leak, including knowing where the gas supply valve is and when and how to safely close it. Call us today to learn more.
Brought to you by the Pennsylvania Propane Gas Association and your local propane service providers.
Students, when I call the reason for your absences throughout the years, please exit the auditorium without your high school diploma. Too tired, family trip, sick day, starting the holidays early.
Starting in the 6th grade, students who miss 18 days or more of school in a year for any reason will fall behind and risk not graduating high school. How many days of school has your child missed this year? Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Hearing this in your future? Head to the Outdoor Bridal Show Sunday, September 7th on the Watson Inn premises. See vendors for every need. Bridal registration begins at 1, vendor door prize giveaways are at 3, and the grand prize is $1,000 cash. Sponsored by the Lewisburg Hotel, Watson Inn, and Mifflinburg Hotel. Thanks to partnering sponsors, Any Event Party Rental and Sales Williamsport, Tron Wedding and Party Rentals Kingston, and Wolf Sanitation Sunbury. Call the Watson Inn at 538-1832 or the Lewisburg Hotel at 523-7800.
Penn State gets ready to open the season with Central Florida in Dublin. Coming up today, we'll talk with Jack Ham and the voice of UCF football, Mark Daniels. 3 to 5 today, WKOK.
Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiree. A sweep is as lucky can be. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiroo.
Dick Van Dyke, of course. Mary Poppins, 50 years old today, the movie.
Isn't that amazing? It seems
crazy.
like only yesterday that I got sick of that music. It sounds a lot better today somehow.
They don't make movies like that anymore. Today's are
Fortunately, they don't, although that was a great movie. I like realistic movies, where people actually say 4-letter words when they pound their thumb with a hammer. The real world is full of that. Not chim-chimmeries.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. Mark Lawrence doing an above-average job here at the Anchor Desk.
Absolutely.
Are you happy, honey? And Kevin Hers, I said I was subpar,
Did
but
you
she
call me honey?
Yeah, no, I'm talking to my lovely
Oh,
bride.
okay, good.
She is very interested in me selling myself short on the radio, or disinterested in that. And I say I'm subpar, but that's good.
It's a golf term,
right? But she doesn't play golf, so she sees right through that. And Kevin Her is the greatest engineer the planet has ever known. He's pulling out his hair this week because
maybe. How's
getting
that?
ready for football, and then on Saturday is the Penn State game. Then Bucknell plays Saturday, and of course tomorrow night the Eagles play on Eagle 107, and so he's got a lot to do to make sure that the 4 high school games go off without a hitch. So he's got plenty to do. And Than Mitchell apparently was pulling out his hair years ago.
Quite
I have no idea why,
but I just I think what I did was grow taller, and my hair didn't.
Oh, is that what it is? So it's still left about your waist or so. But Than Mitchell is here. I always call him an ultra-liberal registered Democrat, but he's a free-thinking Quaker if there ever was one.
I am a Democrat because that's the only way you get a chance to vote in the primaries.
Oh, okay.
And I'd have trouble in this atmosphere being a Republican.
Now, if one of your Republican friends said, would you register Republican and support me in the primary?
No.
There's a line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a philosophical line there someplace.
Okay. Yeah, they won't let me in the tent anyway. So
No.
I'm out.
Well, that's true.
I'm out.
Who's going to ask me to come to the Republican Party?
Yeah, it's funny. I went to I saw pictures of the Dem Fest over the weekend at Knoebels. They don't even have a tent. They're in an open air pavilion.
Darn right.
And then they showed the Republican tent that was another part of the land, and it's all sealed up with a brick wall that says, only ultra conservatives.
Guards outside.
Come in.
Stormtroopers,
Exactly. Let's see. One of our listeners says, we talked about radio bias earlier today, and one of our listeners says, I remember driving around the valley for my job about 15 years ago and hearing a liberal voice on the local AM radio station. There was a kind of a point-counterpoint segment, and this person would have about 30 seconds to explain his position on something. Then John Yingling would take a minute and have to tell him he was wrong. Was that Than Mitchell?
It was, and we each told each other how wrong the other was. John and I, still good friends, have had more fun with that program. Both of us, when we get together now, say, we miss doing that. Because what we would do, and here is literally how it would go. We'd go out for lunch on, let's say, a Monday, and we'd talk about what we're going to discuss. I'd say, John, how about this? He said, no, I agree with you too much on that one. I can't really come back with something. He'd say, how about this? I'd say, I'm not really upset about that. Then we'd finally come up with the one. And then he would always call me an old hippie. And
that was my favorite. Than, you old hippie.
And he was an old conservative. And we enjoyed it so much, just kind of pulling each other's strings. And hopefully saying something that meant something. John's a very, very intelligent conservative.
And how did you know who would go first?
Oh, it was every other week.
Oh, I see.
It was my week, his week, my week, his week.
Yeah, because whoever went second had the other one for lunch.
Oh, absolutely. I love to go second because I could pick out all of the holes in his argument.
John, I know you hate liberals, kids, and dogs. It's just your character. Why is that? That's why you hunt. You like to shoot birds, too. It's like, oh, my gosh. And then he would come on the next week. Than, you old hippie. You old pot-smoking liberal hippie. Don't you have anything?
Than, you old hippie.
Oh, we had fun. Well, I have fun here. I enjoy conversation. Sometimes confrontation, or as the Firesign Theater called it, and I always loved this, confrontatory conversation. Right. Confrontatory isn't a word, but I know on this particular program, made-up words are just fine.
We would invite folks to call us now. We have open phones. Media Bias was our springboard into this particular iteration, so we invite you to call us. We have open phones. The Lenape Solar email in basket is open. We're going to take another quick break, but that leaves us with a couple of minutes, speedy dialer time, and we're talking about media bias. Where does the bias show up? For example, if you read the Shamoka News item or the Daily Item or the Press Enterprise or the Danville News or the Lewistown Sentinel, or where is the bias in those papers? I think that's an okay question. Or on the TV stations, WNEP or WBRE. Where's the bias there at WHP Harrisburg?
I think that I hate to promote a local newspaper since we're at a radio station, but I think you get news from everywhere. I find the Daily Item probably one of the more fair newspapers that I know of in the area.
I mean, there's good, fair, average, better, and great. They're fair.
Well, great would agree with me all the time. The Daily Item does a good job of putting in editorials on all sides. I think On the Mark matches that and goes above that in the fact that you bring in people from all walks of life. Just this morning, probably a fairly conservative farmer from Columbia County and a fairly liberal doctor preacher from around here, and both of the people had a chance to express their opinions.
All right,
I love that.
1-800-795-9565 is our toll-free line. Lenape Solar email in basket is our sponsor. On the Mark at WKOK.com is the sponsor of the email in basket, and our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Come on home to convenience. Come on over with style.
Come on home to Paint Central at your local Kohl's Hardware, where you'll find everything from basic beginnings to the finishing touch in one convenient place.
Save $7 per gallon on True Value Easy Care Ultra Premium and Weatherall Ultra Premium paints with coupon.
Easy Care and Weatherall paint are available in over 1,100 new designer colors. It's stain resistant, has long-lasting durability, and offers one-coat coverage, saving you time, effort, and money.
If you're ready to update your style and create the home of your dreams, make the process simple and visit the knowledgeable paint professionals at Kohl's Hardware for expert guidance and color selection.
Watch for your $7 off per gallon coupon in our news circular at Kohl'sHardware.com and sign up for exclusive online offers year-round. We're right around the corner, right here in your hometown. Come on home to Kohl's for savings on all your painting needs.
Come on home to Kohl's. Kohl's Hardware. Come on home to Kohl's.
Sports medicine at Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical is for the athletic and the active. So if you're a warrior on the field or in the backyard, our team of board-certified surgeons, specially trained nurses, and physical therapists provide comprehensive care using the latest technology and minimally invasive procedures to get you back to your to-do list. Did you strain your shoulder cleaning the gutters or twist your knee mowing the grass? Call the sports medicine experts at Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical at 1-800-598-5096.
A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. The medicine
50 years. I was kidding before. That's a very good movie, and I think that's one that's family friendly. They don't use any four-letter words except maybe love and
no nudity.
Song. Nudity, not even ankles. That's that kind of a movie.
Okay, Mary Poppins is a 1964 American musical fantasy film directed by Robert Stevenson and produced by Walt Disney. It featured, who was in it?
Oh, I don't know any
Dick
of
Van
that.
Dyke and Julie Andrews and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, those two I had heard this morning, so I remembered that, but that's as far as I got.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. Before we allow Chris to go on the line, we were calling fan names, and here's an excerpt of a program recently.
Oh,
You're not
Chris,
racist
good
'cause
luck. You are a race baiter. Good luck, Chris.
Oh,
you are a
I'm gonna
left-wing
have-
liberal that cannot get out of the 60s. That's
Ben,
what you are.
Ben,
A left-wing liberal. Now, he was talking about two different people there, Chris plus Than. You're a left-wing liberal who can't get out of the 60s.
that's me. You can tell. I'm not an old hippie. I'm still a hippie.
We should go back to the 50s. A lot of people say that. So
Yeah.
We had the dentist in here who said we should go back to the 1860s. So that's farther back than any of
We
us
don't need
want to
that.
go. All right, Chris, thank you for waiting. Of course, you are a race baiter, so
Yeah,
please.
I was called a race baiter. I was invited. He invited me down there. I don't know why, but he invited me down there too.
Probably going to sock you once on the nose.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But anyway, a couple of topics you covered today, if I had to get squeezed in enough. The Chair Factory Tower coming down, which was, of course, closed because of the NAFTA laws or one of those business-oriented fair competition laws. I saw an interview about a book about a furniture producer in Virginia. I think his name was Bessel or something. But the name of the book is Factory Man. And it told how he kept his family business alive by working real hard. Imagine that, an executive who isn't lazy.
Is there such a thing?
And he actually got the lawsuit against the Chinese for dumping furniture in this country illegally, and all the furniture producers got money off his suit who joined it, and he was the only one to put the money back into his company instead of selling out his company and keeping the money for more profitable investments elsewhere.
Oh, boy, that's an interesting
and it's a
bit.
wonderful, I haven't read the book, but I did see an hour interview with both the author and the man who it was about. And maybe if business wasn't so profit-oriented and lazy, maybe things would be better.
What? So what are you saying here? This person is that business leaders are lazy? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I'm saying that they take the easy profits.
Well,
he
Chris,
had to work real hard to keep his company and keep it profitable. And he put in a lot of extra work and maybe lost a few percentage points, but he kept his family business going.
But what about some of the local really stellar employers around here? I mean, you think of like Woodmode or some of the...
I think the ones that are in operation, maybe Chair Factory people, they sold out and got taken over 2 or 3 times, I think, and then all went to China. Maybe if they'd worked a little harder at finding ways to survive, this guy did it.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks,
You
Chris.
race baiter, yeah.
And I do not wish to sock you in the eye, but I wish that you would come back and visit us. It was always fun to have you here, so do come back. Thank you, Than Mitchell.
And thank you, Mark Lawrence. And thank you across the way, Kevin Herr. Nice job, Kevin.
Yeah, he always does a good job. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury, WKOK News Time. It is now 10 a.m. Good morning, everyone.